So in the last video, my wife was not feeling well and was laying on the couch with her feet on my lap. That was about like 10 minutes ago. She moved, she's behind the camera now, and she's drinking ginger ale very loudly. How did you slurp that loud? What? Are you choking now? Maybe it wasn't a good idea to inhale ginger ale?
What are we talking about today, Jay?
Oh, we are talking about, well, hold on. Actually, I have my intro scripted. That will get into that. So let's do the intro, okay?
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
I take the time to write these things up, so maybe we should. Okay. I'm losing my mind. In one of my most recent videos, I discussed using silence as a crucial technique to increasing narrative weight and drama in games. And while the response to that video has been great, I got a lot of comments repeating the same sentiment, which was, Jay, you have yet again ignored online players, my dude. And look, while I do think 90% of the advice was still applicable to online players, I hear ya. I also did a poll to see just how many people play online, and out of 2.4 thousand votes at the time of writing the script, actually, can we get a drum roll, please? Can we get a drum roll to like the results of those 2.4 thousand votes? That's a terrible drum roll, but impressive. That was impressive. Anyways, I'll put in my own drum roll in post. Out of 2.4 thousand votes, 36% of people said they played exclusively online, 41% of people said they play exclusively in person, and 22% of people said that they do a mix of the two. This means that out of 2.4 thousand people, 864 play exclusively online, 984 play exclusively in person, and 528 play a mix of the two. That is honestly a lot larger of a number of people playing online than I expected, I'll admit. And if you include those who are playing as a mix into the people who are playing online, that is 1,392 out of 2,400 people who are playing online, at least somewhat. Again, that is a much larger number than I expected, but I guess that's on me. So let's do it. What does playing online look like, and is it better or worse than in person? The truth is, the truth might surprise you. Unlike most of my videos, this is going to be a very practical one where I'm not diving into any specific story moments, but instead legitimately talking about playing online. But even so, as we have learned, it is still necessary to have a spoiler warning at any time. So, babe, if you could hit us with the spoiler warning real quick.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it's a spoiler because this is a spoiler warning. Because online play is superior because who wants to be around human beings? And that's going to be the consensus of the video. And you've been warned.
You actually just spoiled the climax of the video. You haven't even read my script and you spoiled the climax of the... But the spoiler warning before that happened! All right, we're throwing out the script. The truth is, I actually play online more than I play in person these days, as a lot of people do. Now, I still do play in person. Honestly, 2 out of every 3 sessions for me are online, and then, that third session is typically in person. And if I'm being honest, I think that is the ideal ratio. But that being said, I understand that most people cannot play in person. Whether it is because you don't know anybody in real life that you are able to actually play in person with, and therefore you gotta find a group online, or because of, the whole world went through something in 2020. I can't say what it is because YouTube has a problem with me talking about it even now, but we all know what happened. The point is, something happened in 2020 that caused online play to be a lot more popular. So I understand why people are playing online and can't play in person. I'm very lucky to have a group where we can constantly swap between playing online and playing in person, and that is fantastic. However, I do believe that online has a lot of strengths over playing in person that you might not be aware of. First, let's talk about the tips and tricks to playing online that actually genuinely help, because I know that it is difficult. My silence video was all about how to add tension and stakes and also allowing people to have the space to roleplay, but a lot of people said it doesn't work online, and I don't believe that's true, but you do have to put in certain techniques. So let's talk about the first thing, how to play online. I know that's very basic, but it's very important. Choosing the right platform for your campaign is super crucial, because there's a lot of different things to take into account. The first is, do you guys like story or do you like combat? Because combat really desires maps. battle maps, grids, monsters, stats, dice rolling? Yeah. You kind of have to have a system to do all those things, especially if you're playing with people who you don't really know all that well, because you can ask them to roll a dice, but if you are just meeting these people, you don't know if they're telling the truth about their dice rolls. You need to be able to see it and therefore roll online. And then you also need the battle map in place and you need your tokens. So choosing the right platform is crucial. Playing on something as simple as D&D Beyond, where you could share dice rolls but not needing a map, is honestly a very crucial and very easy to use tool. I know that D&D Beyond is still kind of controversial because of Wizards of the Coast things, but it is a great option for those of you who play D&D 5e. But if you don't play 5e or D&D in general, there are a lot of other things. Roll20 is something that is out there, as well as one of my personal favorites, Owlbear Rodeo. If you've never checked out Owlbear Rodeo, it is honestly one of the best free battle map things that you could use. It is so easy to use. You just put it in your browser, you go ahead and you create your map, you send out the link, everybody can log in from their browser. It is honestly an incredible tool, and I would genuinely recommend it. I'm not sponsored, I just genuinely really like this tool and use it anytime that I have to actually run combat online.
I wouldn't recommend it because I've almost died every single time we've played with an owlbear.
Maybe that's just because combat is dangerous.
No.
Yeah.
Every time we've had an owlbear, I've almost died.
Another option is Discord. Like, I know a lot of people don't have a lot of money, and Discord is a great option. Fun fact, the first campaign I ever played in or ran was done strictly over Discord without any cameras, without any visuals. All theater of the mind, all over voice. And that is some of the best D&D I have ever had. So it is a very genuine option. I've known some people who have played over Discord, screen shared, and just used Photoshop or Paint to create the map.
Barbarian, it is your turn again.
Reckless attack the hot pocket.
All right, the Barbarian is going to use his Reckless Attack. This is going to make him more powerful, but more vulnerable next turn. He runs all the way up to the Hot Pocket, and in a fury, swings his Battle Axe. Normally it would be a 14, but with his Reckless Attack, only a 9. 11 as he swings directly into the magic missile hole, ripping the entirety of the Hot Pocket open in half, and the Hot Pocket collapses onto the floor, dead in a pool of Dr. Pepper.
That is also an option. All of that is there. But the truth is you have to choose the right platform. If you like narrative-based things, it is easier to use a platform that is free and doesn't require maps. If you like combat-based things, it is typically better to have the most in-depth map that you can, as well as rolling in front of everybody. You just have to determine what you like to do and find the features that will fit that. And if everybody who has a specific tool in mind that they think is underrated or would be very useful, please feel free to put it in the comments below, and everybody else can go look and find the tools that are right for them, because the best tool that you have is the community that can provide the right things in front of you. So that's on choosing the right platform. And I honestly think that that is one of the most crucial things that you can do outside of anything else. But then it comes to the actual running of the game and storytelling. And this is where I feel like I have the most to give. Because the truth is, I understand why playing online is hard and a lot of people prefer to play in person. Because, and this is like honestly the one single thing that I could probably share with you that is the most important, playing online requires you to reduce isolation. And I know that sounds weird, but let me explain. I've run campaigns online a lot. And I've also played campaigns in person. But I've also had players who are online only because they live in a different state. This means that whether we are playing online or in person, that player is always on a screen. They don't really have a choice. And that is isolating. Not only this, when we play online, they then get the option to be a little bit more involved, but they can still feel isolated. Because when you are playing online, you are alone in your room with a microphone, maybe a camera, and a screen in front of you. And that is it. So it's so easy to feel like you were isolated from the other players, from the current story that's happening, and the key, the honest to God key to playing online is reducing the isolation of every single one of the players. And there are a few different ways of doing this. Whatever tools you're using, whatever platform you're using, please, for the love of God, give the players a chance or a way to raise their hand. If you're playing with cameras, this is easy. The players can just raise their hand. If you're playing on Discord, cool. Have a chat specifically where people could just put a little emoji raising their hand. If you're playing on Zoom, there actually is an option where you can just raise your hand. The reason I mention this is because by raising your hand, you are preventing your players from being isolated. At any time where their story is going forward and they feel like they can't really get a word in, because the thing is, when you're playing online, there's only one audio source. In person, obviously you can all whisper and talk amongst yourselves, raise your voices, but when you are playing online, all audio comes from one source in your ears, and therefore it is so hard to get a word in. Raising your hand lets you be heard above the noise without having to be louder. That is important. It's so easy for a player to be able to introduce what they're trying to do. Like, let's say that I'm going through a dungeon and everybody wants to explore everything. And so everybody's talking, everybody's rolling, and one player feels like they can't get in what they need to, they can raise their hand. And I can look at their camera and say, hey, I got you. I'll get to you in just a sec. And now they can rest assured, not feeling isolated, that I will get to them. I'll finish what I'm doing, go back to them and say, hey, what do you want to do? Tell me what's up. That's very important. It makes the player not feel isolated and a part of the story, and like everybody can get their word in without having to speak over the one audio source that is in your ear, or like you can have a speaker, but I think you get what I mean by that. That is honestly probably one of the best tips that I can give, but there are other things you could do to not isolate yourself. Another one is music. Having everybody hear the same music adds a very odd amount of interaction and collaborative storytelling. When everybody can hear what's going on, it's honestly very helpful. I can't tell you how many times that I played music online and had my players all talk about the fact that a certain music beat just happened to line up with what was happening in the story, and it made them all feel like they were connected. But this isn't easy and it doesn't always work. Like, there is an option on Zoom where you can share your screen and share just your audio, and I've tried that before, but unfortunately, this doesn't prevent Zoom from gating your voice. So if somebody else is talking, it lowers your volume, which means it lowers the volume of the music and makes it kind of confusing to listen to. But there are so many apps and so many tools out there that allow you to do this. Bots on Discord, there are YouTube watch parties in Discord, there are YouTube watch parties online. There's so many resources that allow you to do this, and I can't encourage enough, if you use music in your campaigns, to do this, because it really helps the players all feel like they can come together. My wife is raising her hand. Yes?
Spotify Premium will sync with your Discord and you can do listening parties.
That's very true. Spotify Premium will link with your Discord. And if you can't afford Spotify Premium, again, there are other options. But please find ways of including all the players together, because that is the worst part of online, is it is isolating. So find a way to reduce that. Allow the players to feel like they can connect with you, allow the players to connect with each other, but that's another important thing, allowing them to connect with each other. I guarantee you one of the best things about in-person and why everybody loves it so much is the ability to turn and talk to the person next to you. Honestly, having your characters talk to each other in character, like kind of just whispering to each other while something else is going on, is amazing, and it makes it feel like the whole table's alive. But online, again, there's one audio source, so that's not possible, so make it possible. Whether you're using different channels on Discord, the chat in Zoom, or the chat on Roll20, make sure that the players have the chance to talk to each other without interrupting wherever the spotlight is currently laying within the campaign. Allow the players to interact with each other either out of character or in character without having to be on the microphone, because I guarantee you that's going to keep everybody invested. It is way too easy to be sitting in the background waiting for a scene to end. Two characters have been talking forever and now I'm bored, I'm sitting at my desk, I don't have anything else to do, so I just pull up a game of Fortnite and I start playing.
One victory royale, yeah, Fortnite, we bout to get down. 10 kills on the board right now, just wiped out Tomato Town.
So truthfully, let your players feel like they can engage with each other and not feel isolated. But as we started at the beginning of this video that my wife accidentally spoiled, I actually believe online play is better than in person. And that is an interesting thing to say. So why do you think I think online play is better? We know your reasoning, but why do you think I think online play is better?
I honestly don't know, because you've always pushed to be in person, so I'm curious.
I believe online play is better because it allows people the space to choose what to focus on. See, when you're in person, you're all in the same room, and that can be a little overstimulating for anybody. Everybody's talking, everybody's focusing, and that can create some electric storytelling. But sometimes, you just all want to focus on different things. How many times in dungeons have all of the players wanted to focus on something else in the room, and it becomes difficult for the dungeon master to manage everything. This player wants to go look at the stairs, this player wants to look at the statue, this player over here wants to go look at the mirror, and now I have to do all those at once. Hey, you roll this, you roll this, you roll this. It could be a lot. Online, it allows you to delegate, because there are so many times that somebody has just messaged me, I want to go look at this. And I message them back while still focusing on the game. Okay, make me a roll. And I will get to that in a moment. It is compartmentalized, it is over here, it is visual so I don't forget it, but that's not for everybody. Honestly, that's a very ADHD GM thing to do. I don't think it's for everybody to keep focusing on everything, but for a GM who constantly has issues focusing on one thing and wants to focus on everything, online makes it doable because you have more tools at your disposal, you have more space to do what you need to do, and you have more space to focus on each of the individual players. But I still do believe that in-person is helpful to bring everybody together every once in a while. And for the players who don't have the ability to do that, there is an alternative, and that's a slow session. If you're playing online, I honestly believe, in the same way that I do 2 sessions online, a third in person typically, I think that's really helpful for online sessions too. Do 2 sessions of doing a lot of stuff, but a third session for everybody to cool down and just talk amongst each other. Give them space to breathe. Online sessions typically, in my experience, and I cannot stress enough how much all of this advice is in my experience, typically lead to very focused moments because you only have one audio source, one microphone, you're all talking about the same thing, you're all seeing the same thing if you're sharing your screen, it all leads to a very focused narrative. But sometimes they just need space to breathe, to experience, to talk, and that's what in-person sessions are good at, but you can allow that to happen in your online sessions if you work well together and plan this sort of stuff out. But this leads to one last thing that I'm sure people will say in the comments, which is what happens when people just start to get disengaged? What happens when people just start to do their own thing? Yes, we can do all this stuff, but it doesn't encourage the players to necessarily focus, and sometimes it's really difficult if things are not focusing on your character to stay focused on the screen, to stay focused on what people are saying, to stay focused on the story. And this is where I, as a GM, employ a certain technique, which I call forward rolling. Basically, I keep an eye on everybody, and if you don't have cameras, this is difficult, but you could still do it by paying attention to who's talking. If somebody hasn't been talking for a while, ask them to make a roll that you will get to in a moment. Say if you're in a dungeon and everybody else has been talking, but one player is not, say, hey, Steve, could you make me a history roll? I think you might know something about this. And then keep doing what you're doing. Steve is gonna go make that roll, but now Steve wants to know what's happening. Why did he make that roll? There's something for him to get, and now there's a reason to stay focused until he gets the results of that roll, and maybe his character can act on it. Forward rolling is simply making sure that a roll happens in the future that you're going to be able to use to bring a character back in. It doesn't have to be a lot, it doesn't have to be insane, it's just something to help people stay ahead. Because online is really difficult because it slows things down, because the best way to put it is it's a funnel. Everything comes through a small little area. So make sure that the stuff that's coming through that area is well organized, and all the other players have the ability to have the agency to help you put everything through that funnel. I think that's the best way to describe online play. I think online play is actually amazing. I think there's a lot you can do for it, but yes, it has its own troubles. And honestly, based on the results of my poll, I'm realizing there's a lot of stuff within that I wasn't taking into account. I didn't take into account online players enough, and I promise to do so more in the future. I'm willing to admit when I was wrong, and I was wrong. I didn't think that many people played online, and that's my fault. So I promise to make sure to keep that in mind and to focus on that. And honestly, I'm probably gonna do a breakdown of Ashley Johnson in Campaign 1 in the future because she played online so much, and I feel like there's a lot to learn from that. So feel free to like and subscribe for that video in the future.
Today it became too much, and
Yeah, you'd received a letter from Allura, from Iman, if you recall what that was
I
about.
received a letter. I received a letter from Allura, and I felt that you guys are you guys making a decision or something?
And also comment and do all the other engaging things, because you're supposed to do that for YouTube. But honestly, you know, I haven't been saying this. You know what's the most important thing for YouTube? After this video, click another one of my videos. That's what really tells YouTube, yo, this guy's got it. He knows what's going on. And if you don't want to click it for me, that's fine. Click one of my most recent videos. You'll see a lot of my wife in them. And most people click for her. So
You won't see me. He is catfishing.
yeah, well, you'll hear her. You might see her. You click the last video. You'll see her feet.
Not for free. You can find them on feetfinder.com though.
Can you?
No.
Well, then why are you lying to them?
It's called catfishing.
Anyways, I hope you guys can run some really amazing online games. And if you think I didn't cover enough in this video, if you think there's more stuff that I need to talk about, please also comment that below because I promise I will be reading. And if I think there's something else for me to say, I will make another video on this. So go out into the world, make it your own, and never forget to play your role because I constantly forget to say that as my outro. Bye.